before I even really get into things, I want to clarify. When I say that you don't need a job, I'm not saying everyone should sit around and rot away on their couch doing absolutely nothing. Obviously, that is not fulfilling either. As humans, we are designed to work, to exert ourselves physically, to contribute to a cause, to society, to a tribe. So I'm not saying that everyone should just sit around doing nothing. And by the way, if that does sound enticing to you, that is such a blaring, flashing sign that you are currently not in a situation that is fulfilling to you. You are so beyond burnout that you can't even, if you've gotten to a place where you can't even imagine what you'd want to do and how you'd want to spend your time, and you can't even imagine a life full of adventure and exploration and other experiences, and you just think, if I didn't have my job, I could just sit on the couch and just relax. Trust me, if you were connected by that point, you're so disconnected from yourself, because if that connection with yourself was intact, that would not be appealing to you. You have just lost any optimism and any ability to use your imagination and dream. So the point that I am making here is that we obviously want meaningful lives filled with purpose, but that doesn't mean that we have to slave away at a soul-sucking job. The way that you have been conditioned to think about work versus having a job is completely warped. You believe that you need a job because it provides security. But what you actually need is work that aligns with your nature. The only thing that is keeping you stuck is the belief that you don't have a choice. You can always make another choice. But most people refuse to because it challenges their identity, their ego, and their comfort. Work is deeply human. A job is not. You were not born thinking that you needed a job. That idea was installed into your brain. The entire system, society, media, and culture is designed to turn you into an obedient worker, not a thinker, not a creator. You can do your own research on this. This is exactly how the traditional school system that we have today was designed, in order to create efficient workers that could work long hours in factories, follow orders, and basically become sufficiently programmed and brainwashed so that they aren't questioning anything, and so that they're not even considering other possibilities and other avenues. And take a look around, because they succeeded. The majority of people who are miserable in their jobs, it's so bizarre, but they will argue for the belief that that's their only option and they don't have another choice. They're miserable in this existence and they will defend it to the death. That's insane. But that is, read, is it Edward Bernays' Propaganda? I'll put the book here I think it's Bernays. Yeah, read about propaganda and how they brainwash people and instill programs and operating systems into your mind in order to get you to comply and do what they want you to do to serve their interests, okay? This is not about your interests at all. This is not about what's going to make you happy. This is not about what's good for you. This is not about what's going to feed your soul. This is about what's going to feed their pockets with lots of money. You were never taught how to exist outside of the system, because if you knew, you wouldn't stay in it. The goal was never to help you find meaningful work. It was to make you dependent on someone else for a paycheck. This is why people equate security with employment. Even though we all know your job can be taken from you in an instant. If it hasn't happened to you before, I guarantee you know people who have experienced it. And if you ask me, that is far more terrifying than taking the risk to create something for yourself, to start your own business, to nurture a passion of yours. You say that you're trapped. You say that you're stuck. You say that you don't have a choice. But really, you're afraid to choose differently. Nobody forced you into this life. You followed the script. You went to school. You took out loans. You applied for jobs. You showed up every day. And now you're telling yourself that you don't have a choice. Who made those choices? That's a lie. You just don't like the cost of now choosing differently after you've made all of these consecutive choices over the years that have gotten you to the place that you're in now. Because you probably realize that it's going to take many, many more choices in the opposite direction now to undo what you've gotten yourself into. But you can do it. You're afraid of the uncertainty. I get it. You're afraid of looking stupid. You're afraid of trying and failing. Yeah, all these things could happen. All of these things could happen. Is it worse than existing as you are now in the job you have now indefinitely? Look around you. Your current life is the result of choices that you have already made. Stop pretending that you're powerless. It's not a good look. Okay, you're not a victim. How did you get to the place that you're in now? How did you get this job that you hate? You chose it. You sought out the position, you interviewed for the job, and you accepted. Nobody forced you to do that. For whatever reason, you wanted to do it. This is great news because at any moment, you can make a different choice. You can choose to start a business of your own. Haven't you seen the pictures of Jeff Bezos in his old rundown office with Amazon.com spray painted on the wall? He looked delusional then. And look at him now. And for anybody that uses the excuse that they have a family and they have a mortgage, how do you explain the possibly millions of people, if not hundreds of thousands, who also have those responsibilities but are doing what they want to do? I guarantee you there are so many people out there that have children and mortgages, and they are living a completely free and fulfilling and rewarding life, one that they have designed for themselves. And what about people who live totally unconventional lives, that travel full-time, that do van life full-time, raising their children, that unschool their kids? They've never put them in a regular school. They have their own businesses they run online, and they're able to have freedom. No one's forcing you to exist in your current circumstances. You are choosing that. And the longer that you live in denial of that fact, the longer it's going to remain your reality and nothing will change. You have to take some responsibility for where you're at. And if you want things to be different, you have to act differently. The first thing that you need to change, however, is your beliefs. If you believe that you are stuck and trapped and that you have no choice, then that will be true for you. If you want to believe that you have zero power and that you don't create your reality, then you will be subject to a reality that feels like it's being forced upon you, but in actual reality, you are choosing it by the fact that you believe you aren't choosing it. This is the paradox, because you're making choices aligned with what you perceive to be not your choice. Does that make sense? So your actions will follow. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I almost confused myself with how deep that just got. So basically, you believe that you don't have any agency over your life. You believe that you don't have any control, right? You believe that you don't create your own reality. So, and you have these beliefs that you have to work this job, you're stuck, you have these responsibilities, a mortgage, a family, you don't have a choice. So you will act in accordance with those beliefs, right? You'll stay at the job that you hate, basically, because of these responsibilities that you have. But what you don't realize is that you're making that choice and that's creating your reality. But you're just going to say, oh no, I don't create my own reality. This is my only option. So I just have to do this thing. And it's like, oh my God, if you would stop doing that thing, you would create an entirely different reality for yourself and your circumstances would change. Like, that's the paradox. Hopefully that makes sense. The fact is, You cannot escape the truth that you create your reality. Now, on to work. Work is fulfilling, it's gratifying, it's rewarding, and it's necessary. I obviously, like I said before, I do not think that humans are meant to rot away on their couch watching Netflix, eating candy bars for the rest of their lives. I work very hard. I exert myself physically every single day. For one thing, I'm a massage therapist, so that requires a lot of physical exertion. But I also lift weights and I push myself very hard in the gym. I hike, I trail run, I rock climb, I walk every day. All of these things are work, but it doesn't need to just be physical too. Filming these YouTube videos, coming up with my script, with my ideas, filming, editing, creating thumbnails, all of that is work, but it's creative work. It's work that gives back to me. All of these things that I pour myself into, whether it's physical or creative endeavors, they all pour back into me. They all give back to me. That is the key. And that is how work should be. Work should be rewarding to you. If your job only drains you and you just feel like your life force is being siphoned from you, there is another way. Work can be so fulfilling because it forces you to engage with life. But a job, especially one that you hate, that is not the same thing as work. A job is something that you do for someone else. The difference is that work energizes you and a job depletes you. So reflect on whatever it is you do for work. Which is it? Is it truly work or is it a job? The sad reality is that even if you take the time to reflect, and even if you come to the conclusion that it is just a job and it is soul-sucking, most people are just going to stay put. It's so odd, but we would rather deal with the guaranteed discomfort that we've been experiencing than to risk some like temporary unknown discomfort that we haven't yet experienced. So we don't know if maybe it's going to be worse. Maybe it's going to be more uncomfortable. Let me just stay here because I'm already used to this. Like, this is predictable at least. I know what I'm going to get. If I take the risk, if I leave this, if I go venture out, go after my dreams, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how uncomfortable that might get. So let me just not. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, the norm in our culture is to have a job that you hate, complain about it, bitch about it all the time, be a victim, think that you have no control, and just commiserate with your buddies on the weekends while you get drunk and try to forget about the week before you have to saddle up and go back on Monday and do the whole thing over again. If you really want a different experience of your life, you are going to have to sacrifice a lot of things, like your perceived security with your job. You're going to have to push through fear. You're going to have to build something from the ground up. But would you rather experience temporary instability and uncertainty? Or do you just want to spend 40 plus years in permanent instability, chained to a paycheck that could disappear overnight? The question that you have to ask yourself regarding a job versus work is your entire life structured around somebody else's goals? Whose life are you really living? Do you ever ask yourself, like, what am I actually building? What do I want my life's work to be? If you're not choosing your work, someone else is choosing it for you, and they're going to use it to build their vision, not yours. So what's the move here? Okay, first, you need to kill the belief that you have no choice. That's step one. Second, you need to figure out what type of work actually makes you feel alive and gives back to you. Third, you need to be willing to get uncomfortable. You need to be willing to look crazy. You need to be willing to be judged. And you need to be willing to take actual steps toward doing it. You're probably going to fail at first. People are going to doubt you, but this is the cost of choosing yourself. And trust me, if you do have a family, if you're worried about providing for your family, I would be more worried about the example that you're setting for your children by living an unfulfilling existence where you don't believe in yourself enough to go after what you want. What kind of message is that teaching your kids? Do you want them to follow in your footsteps and to have that same life, to abandon their dreams, to just fall in line, follow the little checklist of success, go to college, take out loans, get into a bunch of debt, apply for jobs, make sure you choose something that's a lucrative career? You followed those steps, at least some of them, and where has it gotten you? Did it turn out to be rewarding? Did it turn out to be fulfilling? Was it worth it? Or do you wish that somebody would have encouraged you to just dream and believe in yourself, and that someone would have believed in you enough to say you can do whatever you want? You can do whatever you want. You don't need to follow this script. It's either that or you just stay where you are, keep pretending that you're trapped, and keep working for people who see you as replaceable. The reality is simple. Either you start designing your life or you keep renting it out to the highest bidder. Your choice. All right, that's all for today, you guys. If you want to chat with me one-on-one, you can book a call. There's a link in the description. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can always email me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Ciao.